So, how do you think that is going to be sorted out?
I think the problem goes back to the transition from the old pension regime to the new one now, which is contributory. I don't think that process was well explained before people went into it. For us in the private sector, it's very straightforward. But we're dealing with public sector where people who had worked for over 20 or 30 years and were looking forward to the day they'll get their gratuity and get some pension, and you're telling them it's on the basis of what you contributed. That didn't used to be the case. Pension was something that goes with the package, and it also brings to the fore, which is a slightly different issue. When you are bringing in a new regime, do we take time to explain it to people, to create awareness? Take, for instance, this new traffic law in Lagos. They say it's been gazetted, it's going to start being implemented. But people out there, but did we create a period of awareness so that people will actually know what this law, because the gazetting, how many people have copies of it? So I think it's a similar thing that happened with the transition from the old pension regime to the new one. And for people down the ladder who do not really have time to read all of these complex laws, and they still were looking forward to the day I retire, I will be rewarded based on the old. So when you are saying the government said they will give you 15%, he said, no, when I came in, this was the practice. Why would my own case be different? I think that is at the root of the problem.
So should government just look for the money somehow, pay them and have peace?
400 billion? I was thinking of roads. I was thinking of... If all the money we make in this country, if we spend it on this country, it is not enough to address our problems. To now devote 400 billion to settle pensions is going to be very difficult. Maybe they are going to take loan or whatever. It's going to be very difficult because there are a lot of, it's not just electricity workers. You are still dealing with university teachers. You are dealing
Nigeria
with Airways. So it's not just electricity. You just give 400 billion. Well, I'm very sorry. I think it's going to be a very difficult thing to pull through. But he
can they not pay by degrees?
Well, if they were even aware of all this problem from day one. I remember, I work in the media. Punch newspaper, when the new pension scheme started, they paid off. They just signed off and said, look, this is your pension. They paid everybody their pension based on the former regime, based on the defined pension. Everybody has started on a new note that now we have contributory pension. So obviously the government did not do that with the workers. You understand? Just burn the bridge and say, look, this is the past is gone. This is new. I don't know. I don't have the information whether they were properly educated or enlightened on this system.
But they can borrow some leaf from the way, if small companies, when they go public, the foundation workers are given some shares into this thing. That's how people become millionaires overnight, when Facebook went public, when Google went public and all that. So these monies that they are being owed, and government doesn't have it to pay, it can be converted to a stake in the privatizing companies. And then the people can decide to sell it as shares and all that, and somehow recover their money. And of course, once you hold shares, if it does well, you smile. If it doesn't do well,
assuming that the new owners of those companies will allow that to happen.
Government is the one selling.
Yes.
I think it's part of the part of the design that the workers will get some stake.
But there is that pension entitlement factored into that shareholding.
For me, I've come up with a fantastic position. If the ones who can pay, the ones that can be converted to equity, convert to equity. It's a way out. If the government really engages these people, we're also dealing with human beings who can be persuaded, who can, deal with them without bitterness, without, open mind. Okay, this is the problem. Look at the predicament. Look at the dilemma. How do we move forward? So I think engagement is very, very critical.
In parentheses, now when the minister came, he brought a whole big schedule, and he showed us that he told us that he asked his driver what level he was on, and by the time he checked on his schedule, based on their demands, his driver would be leaving with 8 point something million.
It's a demand. I mean, you go for the highest, and there is a negotiation and drive it down. Who demands from the bottom?
And the truth again, which may be slightly outside of this, that Nigerians believe that their leaders are taking them for a ride.
Yeah.
That they are when you are hearing billions, this one stole 30 billion. So everybody's like, okay, where is my own?
Yeah.
Is it 8.4 million that is too much? You that you've stolen 100 billion. I mean, when you read when you look at the pension scam, people, so this is coming down to us now.
Nigeria is rich.
Yeah.
So why can't they pay 400 billion? What's that to Nigeria? That's the impression that people are going away with.
They are hearing of houses bought here, houses bought here
in New York, in London,
and so we are beginning to pay the price now of the corrupt leadership we've had for years, because people used to think. I mean, civil servants who used to think, well, when I retire, I'll get this, I'll get that. And they saw politicians come and go. Politicians come. By the time they are leaving, they are looking at their accounts. Everything is empty, and they are left. The civil servants who served in the 60s and 70s, they died poor.
Yes.
So now nobody wants to die poor again.
Now, in closing, is there any buzz regarding who the new minister is going to be?
The president has told us that it's going to be from the southeast. So we may not know who, but in my mind, I started playing with some ideas in my mind. I first thought of somebody like Obi Ezekwesili, who, for me, is one of the most brilliant persons that have ever been in government, who understands. What I look for in a leader, do you understand what you are doing? Because a lot of people don't even know what they are doing. She understands what she's doing. If you are talking of the international connections, the kind of confidence people need before they can come into the country, because the government cannot finance the power sector. We need all these funds from everywhere. That was the first point that came to my mind. But then I realized that, look, we are playing politics from the same. She's from Anambra State, where the Minister of Aviation comes from. So it's very unlikely that such a person will be taken. So I just fear that they don't bring in a politician who comes, spends 2 years trying to understand what is on the ground, and then trying to write some report to upturn everything that has been done. I mean, it's going to be catastrophic, because the only thing Jonathan can leave us with and claim to have achieved, not the only thing, the biggest thing is power. Education will take consistent investment for the next 20 years before we can see results. The roads, I don't know how many roads they can do that Nigerians will be happy. But if we have constant electricity and the economy is booming, I mean, people who have nothing to do with government, who are not employment. So that is the only thing. They have to be very careful in picking the next minister. They have to be very careful. They have to be careful not to derail this reform. That is the only thing I can say. I don't know who is coming, but I hope it's not a politician who will only be interested in running for governorship in 2015, and all he's thinking of is how can I corner more funds to myself.
I will also throw in that list N.S. Ndukwe, who has a track record.
What state is he from?
He's also from Anambra State.
Oh dear.
But how you can deal with it, it's very easy to deal with. It's very easy to deal with. What is remaining in this power sector would not take more than 6 months to 1 year to pass through the critical phase of our source. So you can't, because this is the realm of politics.
The critical phase being dealing with the workers.
Yeah, all of that,
so
and
that
making sure that
on the work at hand.
So that those who are also buying this thing will have, they would have handed over to them. So you can get down with politicians in the southeast. This is a 6 months to 1 year. Yes, it is zoned to you, but we also want people who have the competence to do it. So can we have either Obi or N.S. Ndukwe for 1 year to deliver this service? And after that, and then there are 1,001 jobs government can use to settle those who are jostling.
I beg your pardon. We have a caller on the line. Hello, Remy.
Yeah, good morning, man. I would like to make a contribution, man.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's important for the federal government to pay these people irrespective of where they're going to get the money from. Let the power privatization process continue as laid down by Barth Nnaji. For the nation, and he has done creditably well. And we need to get this thing once and for all. We don't want to scatter any longer. And let it just go on as let them find the money and pay the workers so that we can have a.
Okay, so government should just find the money somehow, pay the workers so that it can now, see clearly to do the work at hand, which it has already started. That's what Remy is suggesting. But 400 billion is a lot of money.
If the 400 billion is put into some existing plants, or even to build new power plants, I mean, 1,000 megawatts is for $1 billion. That's 160 billion naira for 1,000 megawatts. The whole of Lagos
will make a difference.
That will make a difference. If you pump 1,000 megawatts into Lagos today, the economy will
change for the better.
I'm not against workers being paid, but I think we have to just find some middle road.